No Cap Radio, we back, y'all. Episode 10.
No cap.
Got your boy Domi Jones.
Hey man, thanks for joining. I'm glad to be a part of the show, baby.
Yeah, man.
No Cap Radio.
Yeah. We got a very important conversation for y'all today, man. We're gonna talk about therapy. You know, something that a lot of people are either afraid of, or we in denial that we need it. So we're gonna shine some light on the importance of therapy today. And to do that, we got a special guest, Gary Taylor. Licensed clinical social worker in Virginia, master's in social work from George Mason University, bachelor's in psychology from VCU. So, without further ado, I'm gonna welcome to y'all Retro GT, Gary Taylor.
What's up, baby?
What's up, King?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys.
Also, big ups on that 1 year anniversary on your podcast.
Oh man, yeah, appreciate it, man. I totally went by. Actually, I forgot about it, and then I was like, oh snap, wait a minute, it's been 1 year. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, thank you. I just did an episode on that last night.
Yeah, man. Before we get into your greatness, man, we of course did some research on you, and you into that shoe game, huh?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Collection looking like
a little bit. I mean, it's all right. It's something light. I just picked up some stuff today, some phone posits that my man's had, man. So,
okay.
It's been, rebuilding. That's what I've been doing, man. Just collecting on the side, keep moving.
Okay. I see you got the Jordans. You got some LeBrons mixed in.
I got one pair of LeBrons. I got a pair of IDs that I did on his second championship with Miami. I just did like an all gold pair for the 10s. And so I'm gonna start right now. I've been trying to collect Iversons. That's my favorite ball player. And then once I finish with that, then I'm gonna start working on LeBrons. So
I was gonna ask you about the GOAT conversation, but I see where your view is.
I mean, how much time we got? Because y'all want to do a therapy podcast.
Tell me, give me a quick rundown. What you think about that conversation? I ain't even asking you who is the GOAT, but what you think about a conversation in general?
I think it's hard to compare generations. I think everybody from our parents' generation to older to our generation, we all have our GOATs of our era. And I think we should just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? That's just me personally, because it gets too technical. Man. It gets too technical. And it's like, oh, well, it played the tougher era. Oh, well, he played a super team, and then Mike was a super team. It's just keep it generation, man.
We aren't fond of the idea of participating in therapy. Why do you think that's the case?
It's a couple different things. I think, the fact that we don't even like going to the doctor anyway to see a doctor about our health, and all of the different things that has happened to us in the past, in regards to with the medical profession and being tested on and not knowing what we were receiving, or the doctors and stuff not really understanding our culture and what we believe in and what we went through. And so I think it starts from that distrust in the medical field. And then also that culture of like, whatever happens in my house, stays in this house. You don't go out there telling people this business is going on in this house and stuff like that. And then, third, just the fact that, it's not a lot of, Black mental health professionals in the field. I mean, it's growing now, but it's not a lot of that in the field today. So, just going to a white professional might look different. You might have a stigma behind that, or in my case, as a social worker, Black folks tend to have a stigma around social workers take kids, so It's a couple of those different factors that have plagued us over the time that we're working to get through right now. But I think those are kind of the couple of factors that plague that determine why we don't get therapy.
Yeah, well, I think you definitely can't blame us. Like you say, being the history is definitely a big trust factor in every industry, really. Just, not really trusting them being how they did us. So what would be your advice for people who feel that way?
Conversation around getting therapy and making sure that we're healing and make sure we're working on our mental health has expanded over the past couple of years. We have seen a kind of surge of more Black mental health professionals and therapists. And so there are therapists out there now that look like us. You feel what I'm saying? So that you got Black women who are leading that charge, and then you also got us Black men who are entering the field now and offering these services. So I would say that, hey, I understand your distrust. I understand that, these feelings may arise and you don't think there's a lot of us out there, X, Y, and Z, but, there are people out here doing the work. Whether it's like, if you go through, Black Girls? I forgot the website, but pretty much you can go, this website is dedicated to Black professionals and Black therapists that you can go and check out now.
Okay.
Now, that we didn't have a couple years ago. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, just working to get through that and just trying to find somebody that looks like you may be helpful in getting over that fear, because we can hash those things out in session and you'll see that, hey, I mean, it's understandable. Like, I relate, I can understand. Let's work through that and stuff like that. So I would say at least just try. It's places out there. Therapy for Black girls and therapy for Black men. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it seemed like that conversation, people are more open to, speaking on mental health now.
Right.
It's like a huge thing now. And not to say we haven't been suffering from it all along, but now people are like coming out and advocating for it. A lot of celebrities and stuff like that.
I was talking to Domi the other day, and I was telling him, man, it's funny because life is like luck of the draw, You could be born into a mansion, you know what I mean, or you got one room shack. You know what I'm saying? You can't really control. You kind of come into this world blind, and before you know it, you grow up, and you build all these barriers and fences or whatever between people, between certain things. And of course, there's a denial in therapy with a lot of people. But how do you know when you really need therapy? Like, what's that point where you say, "All right, I need to talk to somebody"?
I don't think there's a specific time that you need to say, I need to go talk to somebody. Well, let me backtrack that. There's always a good time for you to talk to a therapist. You don't necessarily have to be in a crisis, to just seek out a therapist. You could just want to see a therapist just because you have some things that you need to work on. You might not be having a mental illness or mental health symptoms, but you might see some stuff that you want to work on, whether that be emotionally, mentally, spiritually, X, Y, and Z. So it's you can do therapy when you're good, when you're not good, or when you're at your lowest moment. It just depends on what you're seeking out and what you're trying to work to heal. You feel what I'm saying? Right. But definitely, if you start to see that you're not being yourself, right? And things starting to change, and relationships and things are just not, and life is just not going well or the way you want it to go, then that's a great time to look into a therapist or seek somebody out to talk to. Or, and then also it could be just like I said, with everything going on and racial justice and social justice issues happening right now, good time to talk to a therapist about how that's affecting you and processing you, and how that, could be affecting you mentally from an anxiety standpoint, from a stress standpoint, from a trauma perspective. You know what I'm saying? And, or it could just be like, I just want to be the best person I can be going forward. Let me make sure I'm good. Let me make sure I have a person or somebody to vent and talk about whatever I might be going through, just the stresses of life, and see a therapist. So it's never a wrong time to see one.
Right. And I think it was several times throughout 2020 where people were just feeling, in a dark place, and everybody, going through the pandemic. And then it was like so many deaths in 2020 with that. But I feel like that's a good point that you made, though, the fact that you just wanting to self-improve, right? And just saying, I just want to become a better version of myself, so I'm gonna seek therapy for that.
Yeah. It's that simple.
So with that, yeah, just be a better person. Right. So with that said, what do you like? I know therapy can become expensive, right? So this is something that's normally covered over your health insurance.
So it's a couple of different ways. And it's crazy, right? Because you guys actually are the first podcast or first speaking engagement episode or whatever that I'm actually coming on as a therapist. I just started my therapy practice in December. And so usually I'm on other podcasts or speaking engagements as like a mental health advocate or just an educator around mental health and what's going on and stuff like that. So this is cool. So thank you.
Hey, congratulations on that.
Yeah, you green out here. You good money though, y'all. You good money.
You guys are the first. I was like, man, no, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but with that being said, it's a couple different ways. Typically, if you have health insurance does cover, getting therapy and seeking out a therapist. So what happens is typically, you have a copay like you would if you go to a doctor. You have a copay, you pay that when you go see your therapist, and then the therapist, if they're credentialed with the actual insurance company that you take, will, charge the insurance company and get reimbursed that way, and you don't have to do anything else outside of that if you have insurance. You also can do, if you have a health savings account with your job, like, some money you throw in there pre-tax, health savings account, therapists can use that as well to get therapy services and stuff like that. Okay. Then there is self-pay or private pay, which is therapists who do not take insurance but charge a flat rate fee for service, for therapy. And that can range from different prices, in different price ranges. Now with that, if you can afford that, that's cool. If not, things may change. Some therapists offer sliding scales. Sliding scale is pretty much a fee for the therapy service that is based upon your income. So if I'm charging $150 a session, right, and you make, $30,000-$40,000, and I offer a sliding scale, then that means, I'll, based upon your income, and let's say I'll go from $150 to about, maybe $40 or $50 a session for you, right? Mm-hmm. And so those are the kind of the ranges that you can use to get therapy services. Now, if you have Medicaid, or through Obamacare and stuff like that, Medicaid, reimburses and allows you to see a therapist as well. Still like maybe a copay, may not. And then if you don't have any income or you can't afford therapy, some therapists do provide pro bono services where they do free services for therapy. And then also you have in Virginia, community services boards that are all in the state of Virginia that offer therapy, and stuff for people who don't have income or low income. And so those are the kind of tiers. That's why I was trying to make sure I walk it down all the way. Oh, yeah. So there's different avenues to get therapy and how you can pay for it and how it can make it affordable for you.
And so it sounds like it's programs out there for you if specifically if you can't afford it, at least in Virginia.
Yeah, and people should definitely check with their jobs. I found that out with my job, and they actually offer it like a service. Yeah. I would have never known,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that one. EAP services. So on your employer, they have EAP. Yeah. And that's like a couple free sessions with a therapist or whatever that's contracted with a therapist or whatever, and it's free sessions. So that's another opportunity too. Mm-hmm. Who else? Taraji P. Henson has a foundation called the Boris Henson Foundation, named after her father, where she's giving people, hooking people up with therapy services, if they can't afford it, that she has a program for that, helping people out doing that. So that's something she started not too long ago as well. I don't know if you guys caught on to that or seen that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually used the EAP program before, and I saw a social worker. However, it was a woman, right? Or older white woman. So it's kind of like the whole thing when you're in school, right? It's kind of a disconnect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that, which kind of lead to the next question, right?
Yeah.
The whole the gender based therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And should it be determined case by case? So do you think gender plays a role with who you should go see?
I mean, that's personal preference, I think. Of course, I do like to say, male, male, well, men and men, woman and woman, will be beneficial. Black man, black woman, you know. But I mean, there might be a time, where that might be that might not work for you. That black therapist might not, work for you. And so it just really depends on what what experiences you have and what you're seeking out, especially somebody that may have a traumatic experience with a man or a woman. And if they're a woman, they might not feel comfortable seeing another black woman or another black man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
It can't
layers
play
to
a
that. You know what
role.
I'm saying? It just really depends on what's your comfort level. Yeah.
Right. Right. It can play a role, but I felt like it was a disconnect. I felt like we couldn't get deep as I wanted to get because it was a disconnect there.
Can't really be relatable.
Yeah, it wasn't relatable. Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, since starting out in December, like all of my caseload is black men. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, when we have our conversations, they enjoy the fact that we can have those conversations as men, black men together, and stuff like that. And because we can relate. So I mean, I think there's definitely, to answer your question, yes, I think there's definitely something to it, right? That it could be productive and beneficial for both parties. But then it's also very contingent on what your experience is and what is you're actually seeking out and needing in your therapist. You feel what I'm saying? Because it could be, yeah, it can get a little bit layered in that aspect.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I think some degree it does matter who it's coming from, right? That's why they get celebrities to endorse products, right? Like if it's coming from them, it's like you say, the trust factor.
Trust in it,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But let me say for that though, that from the celebrity aspect, and I talked about this on my podcast as well about there's been a trend right now in the social media and marketing where the organizations and the big businesses are playing on mental health and putting celebrities at the forefront due to telling their stories, right? But they're not really connecting people with the actual therapist. So you hearing stories from the celebrities that we look up to and want to be like and stuff like that, but we are seeing like they're telling their story and it may be their story or whatever, but a lot of us want to go deeper. We want to go deeper, and we tend to address those surface level issues that we have and not go deeper. And the only way you can go deeper is with a licensed professional to help get those deep rooted problems. But the way marketing has went around, the way social media has been pushed, they kind of made mental health trendy and buzzworthy. And bringing in the celebrities instead of putting the celebrities with a therapist or bringing in a therapist and pushing them out there. So it's been some issues with that, and that's why you see like, yeah, we're talking about mental health and we're getting to the issues, but there's still people out there struggling and hurting.
Conversation is being had a lot more now. People are coming out, and that could be the push from the celebrities that's getting it out there. But that may not necessarily help the person at home that's really dealing with something or going through something just from hearing their story or how they got help. So I think I think those programs that you mentioned are important. I think it's the awareness of it, knowing where and how to get help, and making that convenient will really get more people involved.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, Dom, like you're absolutely right because access, right? Access is major, and if I don't know where to go, then how am I going to get it? And I'll be honest with you guys. I've been in the field of mental health, working in mental health for the past 10 years. So I'm not new to this. I'm just new to doing this form of therapy. You feel what I'm saying? Did access like it is hard to navigate the mental health system. You feel what I'm saying? It's very difficult. It's difficult for me being in the field to navigate it. And so a big portion of, when I first came out before this was just helping to educate the Black community on where to find these programs, where to go to get therapy, you know what I'm saying, and X, Y, and Z. I probably most of my referrals or most of my communication, it really is connecting people with providers and connecting people with these resources or programs because they don't know where to go. And this is new. And we're trying to heal and trying to figure it out. But there's one, lack of, it's not a lot of us. And two, it's hidden sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And so it's hard to navigate. So so that's another piece that I probably do more than anything is connecting folks, with those resources.
Yeah. You fresh, like you said, you just started in December, so I'm guessing all of your sessions, of course, have been virtual. How does that feel? I mean, I guess you haven't done any face to face, but are you anxious to get to face to face, or how's that virtual feeling for you?
You know, I miss in person, man. I miss it, man. And because I'm a very like personal person where I like to feed off that initial interaction when we're together, and then we can work together, and you can see that, right? So although my whole practice is virtual, right, and it's doing pretty well, I would say, you know, you do miss that in person, face to face contact that gives you the ability to exchange those energies and really pick up on what's happening and what's going on, read facial expressions, read body language, exchange that back and forth, because virtual, as you're trying to cover it to figure out what they're saying, their body language, if it's a lag or something like that, and that can get tiring.
That's what I was gonna say, cause you a psychology major, so you paying attention to the body language and stuff when you sitting there in front of them. It's like a missing link. But on the flip side, wouldn't this increase accessibility? Cause now you can do it virtual.
Yeah. The more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. In that.
Yeah. I think too, what has helped me too, guys, is that again, like I said, I've been in the field for 10 years. So I've been already know the tricks and trade of assessing and doing in-person type style therapy anyway, or group therapy, X, Y, and Z. So I can piggyback off of those old skills that I've been using and use them to my advantage in a virtual world. You feel what I'm saying? And whether that's picking up on tone, language, and also like just seeing facial expressions the most I can, and picking up on that. But yeah, you're never going to be able to recreate that in-person feel. And I'm personally, I'll stay virtual if I need to. That's cool, But we get the chance and opportunity to go back inside. I'll make sure I have an office and a whole thing set up, man, because I think that's so important.
Yeah. And it's like these conversations come full circle, because when you spoke earlier and said, you don't have a choice in the family that you born into, it makes me think about the fatherless households, that conversation we had. And so we did some research and found out it's like 50% of people who coming from fatherless households. So with that, do you think that lands a lot of people in your office just based off of that fact alone?
I think there's a lot to that. I think that some guys, people do or have like come from a background of fatherless homes, and that has plagued them or sent them into a way of how they see themselves as Black men, or how they approach life in general, and how they approach difficult situations and stresses like that. And so, yes, I do think that is a factor. However, you know, there are people who come from 2-parent households with fathers in the mix that come with the same issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where you're getting it both ways. You know, a lot of people who suffer with mental health or suffer with stresses like that come from 2-parent households. And then you have those two come from the single parent household with just mom, and not having that positive male role model, you know, or dad in the mix to help them. Then that also sends them spiraling as well. But then at the same time, you could come from a household too where dad is cold, shut off, and he don't know how to adjust his own mental health. Yeah. And then you send the kid around the same path.
Right.
So it's a give and take with that. You know, I see it both sides.
So what, I'm gonna be honest with you. What really drew my attention to you, somebody had actually told me about you, you know, at my job. And they were like, basically, you know, you working with these men. I know your specialty is in men, not to exclude anybody else, you know, let everybody know that. But these guys that have went through things, you know, is younger and brought it into adulthood. You know what I mean? So what are like the main effects that you're seeing from this?
Okay. I see where you're going. It plays a very heavily role. You think about it. When we get older and grow up and we start acting like our mother or father and have those little traits and things that they did when we was when we was growing up and we seen them do, and we start doing it, you feel what I'm saying? That in and of itself is coming from the household and what we've seen and experienced. And so my thought pattern in around how childhood plays, you know, a major factor in adulthood is that we live and get through life and understand life through experiences. Mm-hmm. So whatever our experience is in childhood and as teenagers and going into adulthood, all of that shapes what we do in our adulthood. So, for example, if dad is, let's say dad is in the home, but dad shows only two emotions. He shows happiness and he shows anger when he gets mad. Dad doesn't express himself very well when things need to be done or what's going on with him. You never seen dad cry. Dad never talked about his emotions or feelings, things like that, right? So now, as a child, I see that. And when it comes to me becoming an adult or getting to a relationship, I don't know how to communicate or effectively communicate my emotions to my spouse. I can only show happiness or anger or exploding. There's no in between, right? Oh. And that's because this is what I learned from my parent in the household, you know, and this is how I learned how to deal with stress in the household. This or that, or turned to whatever, that's how I learned to cope with life, because that's what I learned in the household. Or, like I always say too, you know, if you want to see what's really going on in a child's life, you look at the household and look at the school system. Those two things, big influencers on how we are raised, how we grow up, and how we deal with experiences, positive or negatively, you know. So that's just an example. And so, yes, I do think childhood and teenage years or adolescent years do shape us into how we become or how we move or how we relate or how we deal with stress.
And with that said, it makes me think.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. And it makes me think of how important it is to get influence from outside your household, especially as a young man, right? You need those influences that gonna tell you a little bit more than what your father would tell you, maybe. But that shows you, and it's a different way of thinking.
That community, right? That community level of those mentors or those coaches, those teachers, you know, those friends, those support groups, you know, like those taking all of that in one and helping shape who you are, right? And then, you know, helping with that. That's one of those key things you can do. But again, like I think we're dealing with too, we're seeing the transition of us as Black people trying to heal, right? We're transitioning and we're uprooting all these negative mindsets, negative behaviors that we has been ingrained in us for forever, from passed down from grandma, big mama, big daddy and them. I like to call it the big mama effect. Big mama would care for the whole family, all the grandchildren, X, Y, and Z, do what she needed to do, provide for her family. But who was taking care of Big Mama? And when she broke down and had that, that stroke or, nervous breakdown, as we used to call it in the Black community. And what happened, right, with that? So our parents seen Big Mama and them, how she coped with stress and how she dealt with her mental health. And they adopted the same thing, right? And they adopted the way how they deal with their mental health. And those coping mechanisms that we utilize, that we took from generational traumas that we've affected and has affected us for centuries, continue to evolve and cycle. Now it's starting to stop with us. And that's taking a lot of uprooting, a lot of cycle breaking, a lot of curse breaking, and shifting in mindset and thought patterns to change the way we react to what those generational traumas have affected us from a mental, from a physical, and from a spiritual perspective. It's so bad. It's bad.
I feel like Big Mama used to just pray about it.
No, strength and prayer, right?
Mama, yeah. But like I watched that documentary about the crack epidemic, man, and we were like being born in it. Yeah. So I think about the people who survived it, was either using it, selling it, locked up because of it all this time, and now it's 2020. You so traumatized from this past 20, 30 years, and that's just one aspect. That's just drugs, and you know what I mean? But which played a role in a lot of other things that could have caused you to have traumatic experiences, or the kids whose parents were addicts. There's so many ways to look at that issue alone.
Let me just say this, right? If you have been struggling with finances and you go see a therapist, realistically, the therapist can help you deal with your emotions or anxieties around the finances, right? But you might need a coach, a life coach, or a financial advisor to help get those finances ordered. Right. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Is the therapist going to help you get approved for that mortgage or clear out the credit card debt? You know what I'm saying? It's going to help you from an emotional standpoint and help you manage that, but you might need another specialty to deal with that, right? Or let's say take a physical. I need to lose weight, 20, 30 pounds, trying to get in the gym, trying to get my fitness on and be more healthy. The doctor said I need to lose weight. I can see a therapist and talk about the mental strain and anxiety of that, but I probably just get a personal trainer. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there are times where I think I'm gonna subscribe to say therapy is always helpful, right? It's all on how you utilize it and make it. But there are some times where you do need specialty help, or maybe a life coach, or maybe somebody else, because you have to recognize what you need in that moment. Is it personal goals, or I needing help trying to get through my career goals, which some therapists can do, say I try to offer that in my services, like a kind of continuum, but some therapists don't. So maybe you need a life coach or a career coach, right? Or a counselor like that. But it's also understanding what you need in those moments, right? And then going about getting them. You feel what I'm saying? And then, or if you need a therapist to help you just with self-help and self looking at what am I doing to be a better person, and you have your therapist and you utilize it the way you want to utilize it. Therapy is it's not us and how we just sit there and just tell you what you need to be doing, tell you what you shouldn't be doing. That's not therapy. Therapy is you coming to the actual therapist group and putting in the work to help. You drive all of that. You drive the sessions. You're the one that's helping, letting the therapist know what you need from them. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That I don't come in there and just wave a magic wand and say, you need to do this. It's you. What you want to work on. And let me help guide you along the way with that. You feel what I'm saying? I have a therapist myself, you know what I'm saying? And I started seeing them in the last year or so. And it's been very helpful for me just to going on with everything that I had going on with myself, right? From a grief standpoint, from an emotional, anger standpoint, to how I'm processing, my anxieties around being good enough, for imposter syndrome, X, Y, and Z, things like that. If I don't come in there and do the work, then yeah, the therapy is not going to be beneficial. So you got to put in, there's some times where it might not be beneficial depending on the situation, but other times I think therapy is always beneficial just when it's utilized in a proper manner and you put in the work.
It's definitely some work involved in going to therapy. Like, you gotta have your mental ready. Like, I'm ready to.
You gotta be willing to expose. You know what I mean? If you come in and you're in this shell, and of course that takes time. Yeah. It's all in what you're willing to, accept help for.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So have you ever come? So, have you come across people like that that's just stubborn or block out what you said because you were too right?
I mean, some people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to hear it. I mean, there are times in my therapy sessions, like he said, he was like, yo, like, what about this? You didn't think about this? Like, you probably should dial it back here. I'm like, nah, so I ain't trying to hear all that. Like, nah, this is what I'm saying. So yeah, you get that. But but here's the beauty in therapy, right? If and this is why I think, let me put this disclaimer here. You might find a therapist, y'all might not click. Might gotta find another therapist that you can click with, right? Might take a couple times before you get a good therapist that works with you. Just like I tell people, it's just like test driving a new car. I want this right here. I want the Beamer, the 3 Series. Let me test drive it. A little too small for me. Let me try the 5. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bit too much. Let me go here. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, right? The biggest portion of therapy, building the rapport. What is building the rapport? Making each other comfortable in the session, getting to know one another, getting to build with one another and connect. You have to establish that rapport first. Once you establish the rapport, then the healing can start to happen, right? Then you feel safe, you feel you still safe, and you're more likely to be vulnerable in that space. You feel what I'm saying? So yes, the client has to come in and put the work in, but the therapist also has to provide the space to make it comfortable to be vulnerable. Yeah. So it's the give and take, back and forth, reciprocal relationship. Boom, 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 boom. It's not just all on us to figure out therapy and go in there. Nah, it's on the therapist too to provide and create the atmosphere to make it safe and conducive for the person to be vulnerable in that space. And if you don't do that, then it's not going to work.
Somebody wanted to get, therapy. Where can they sign up to get some therapy from Gary Taylor?
So right now, I have a couple of slots open. I am available. You can go to my website, uphold318.com/therapy. I'm primarily taking Black men right now. Have a couple more slots available. I don't know how long they'll be available for, so I can't predict that, but you can find me there. I have to make sure too that, if you're related to me, or if you know my, if I have a personal relationship with you at some point, form of fashion, or my family's pretty big, and we probably can't do therapy together because of that, the ethical dilemma and boundaries. And so if that's not the case, you can go on psychologytoday.com and you can look up therapists in your area, either by your zip code, by city or county, things of that nature. A lot of therapists in Virginia are doing telehealth, so you don't have to make it just in one area of where you're at. You can expand across the state if you can't find anybody. Yeah. Psychologytoday.com. There's therapyforblackgirls.org and therapy for Black men as well, where you can find Black providers in your state or in your locality. And then also, you can also call your insurance company if you do have insurance, and they will tell you who is in network to that they could do therapy with you as well. So those are the different gamuts you want to go through to seek out therapy. Wow. And I wanted to say too, the other piece in therapy, right? Once you enter into a session, that type of therapeutic client relationship with the therapist, all of that information is confidential. Mm-hmm. It's protected by that. Mm-hmm. So you get in there, I can't say anything about what we talked about to anybody else unless you tell me to. You feel what I'm saying? So that, I think a lot of people forget about that too. Is like, oh, I'm going to go talk to this person that I don't even know and tell my life story. I don't know this person. He can with understandable. People have trust issues and stuff gets leaked all the time. But that therapist is ethically bound by those licenses that we have to protect that information and maintain confidentiality, just like in healthcare. And if that is breached, you best believe they snatching license and ain't no more private practices.
Yeah, as it should be, should be. But yeah, thanks for sharing those resources, because I know folks can use it. So we'll make sure we'll link them all in the description so folks can know where to get some help.
Yeah, you say you got your 1 year anniversary, of course, on that podcast, man. Congratulations again. And where can we listen to that at?
Yes, and so Everybody Relax podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. You can listen on there. You can also go to my website and just go uphold318.com, relax VA, and it should pop up there as well. But those are the streaming platforms that I'm on. So yeah, I appreciate that shout out. Thank you.
Yeah, man, that's what we need, man. Black men coming together talking about therapy, man. How to get some help out here, man. Right. Need that. So appreciate the work you're doing, man. Of course, we want to highlight you and what you're doing, man. So thanks for everything you're doing. And whenever you want to come back, No Cap Radio always got a seat for you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for reaching out and let me come on your platform and talk about this very important topic that a lot of people I know want to know more information about. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Keep doing your thing. So thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. I'll holler at y'all. Y'all take it easy.
All right, too.
All right.
Man, so I know y'all done seen we got that No Cap merch. We try to warm y'all up for the trivia today. So with your man Gary Taylor being a shoe connoisseur, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The question of the day is, y'all gotta guess my shoe size. So I figure I'd give them a range, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm making it too hard.
You should have did your height, because they have no idea.
No.
They have no idea. Like, that would have been tougher, but shoe is good.
Yeah, we're gonna say the height. But yeah, we're gonna do shoes today, so we're gonna say I give you about from 10 to a 13. What's my shoe size?
And they gotta get the half and all that right,
huh? Yeah, you gotta
be on point, man. Get this No Cap merch.
Yeah, that's no
I don't know what we might send them, man. We might send them anything, but whatever we send them gonna be branded, legit.
It's gonna be official.
Yeah, it's gonna be official. So
if you want that merch, gotta guess the size, y'all.
That's right. Yeah, man. So but we had a great show today. I think it's important, man. to speak on the topics that we did this evening. And man, this show, man, No Cap Radio is really coming together to be something that I couldn't even really fathom starting off. And it's just such a blessing to see the reward, man, from the hard work. And, you know, I think the best piece of advice that I could give to anybody is, you know, when things aren't going right and things, you know, you find yourself in a dark or negative place, it's essential that you do something, some type of action to bring the momentum back to your favor. It's like you have to shift the energy in your life or your world, you know what I mean, in order for you to have control and power over your life again, you know what I mean? So, and I just, with this show, it's like a living testimony of manifestation in the mind from an idea, you know what I mean? So, you know, definitely, man, dream big and never limit your own self by limited thoughts, you know? I always say traveling always helps me think new thoughts.
Yeah, man, you always trying to get up the road.
Yeah, it helps me.
Yeah,
we seeing something different help you think something different. The possibilities become greater. So yeah, man, that's my spiel, you know. Yeah, man. Well, if you ain't got nothing else, I guess we'll see y'all next time. No cap. I feel amazing. You know, so this that time where everybody gotta show some love to somebody. It don't matter where you at, regardless of where you at. Show some love. Show some love to somebody next to you. That's right. The hurt live in the past, I burnt it in the ash. Last to seek validity, first to get the cash. Pick on the synchronicity in the presence of kings. This is one of them symphonies, never wanted to leave. I fathered my hometown, just like I fathered my daughter. I never needed acceptance from outsiders. Regardless, I'm still gonna go far, still taking it farther. I'm treading troubled water, my legacy is my power. I'm running my lane, I could go treadmill for hours. Checking your new music, it sound like the old hours. You thought of something I haven't, then you have earned my honor. I'm calmer than Obama, assassinating Osama. I'm stepping in new arenas just like Floyd did Connor. Dropping bombs, getting ready for the drama. I'm the black James Bond in a sheepskin bomber. But there's still so many things that we have in common. Cause you and me, I'm just like you, you like me. But this ain't another love song. Everybody sing along now. We are one, habitat under the sun. We are one. Why can't we just all get along? Everybody break it down now. I'm accepting all compliments, exuding confidence. My accomplishments all done up in awesomeness. Took my salary, put another on top of it. Moved to the suburbs away from metropolitan. Long way from I grew up, still I think about all of them. Wondering when we will be represented in politics. Cause our condition depend on getting hip to their common tricks. Whether rich or poor, blacks being targeted. One thing about the ghetto, when you leave, you're still a part of it. To the point my white audience will argue this. Say it ain't a black and white thing, but I think for us to have to tell you Black Lives Matter is a shame. So how you gonna say that Black Lives Matter's to blame instead of police harassing us and leaving us slain? And for Vice President Pence to get on live TV and admit he don't believe racism exists? Man, you and me, I'm just like you, you like me. Just like me. This ain't another love song. Everybody sing along now. We are one, habitat under the sun. We are one. Why can't we just all get along? How about it? Everybody break it down.